Hello again everyone, Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be dissertating and talking about the Zodiac signs in astrology and how they may act as friends. Now I'm going to go, in the normal order, Aries all the way till Pisces. So let me start out with Aries. I see Aries as a friend in astrology. They, obviously in Aries can be combative, maybe sometimes militant and outspoken. And Aries is the type of person, as a friend, that obviously is not going to be reluctant to voice his or her opinions and to maybe sometimes point out, the positive attributes and the negative on a friend. And also, obviously being the fact that they can be fearless and a lot of times follow the no fear concept, they could be the kind of person that will stick up for a friend quicker than most and not afraid to engage in maybe possible physical confrontation on the friend's behalf. Aries can be, a little bit on the impatient side, so, kind of similar to Gemini. I think Aries, that might be the kind that, would like to diversify a little as far as, activities go and not necessarily stay with one thing too long. So anyway, let me get to the next sign. Taurus. I'd say Taurus is one of the most staunch allies that somebody could have on their team. I guess because I'm a sports fan, I'm using kind of a metaphor here with sports. Obviously very loyal and steadfast, will be someone's friend to the end. It's a kind of person that, might not always, do something for you in a hurry, but because of their, this is a sign obviously that, is very, like I said, very dedicated and devoted, will ordinarily do something for a person, for a friend in the long run, and will do, a lot of times whatever it takes to maintain the friendship, even if they feel, maybe they have to sacrifice or maybe admit that they're wrong, say they're wrong sometimes, maybe when they're really not, in order to keep the friendship intact. Taurus is, is known for, their consistency, so that's one thing, as far as Taurus goes. Anyway, next sign, I'm going to go to Gemini. And Geminis, as friends, they could be, very effervescent, very lively and, kind of, very, amiable, and they make, good friends in the sense that, their personality and disposition as such seems to be very likable as a friend. The thing with Gemini is that, they can be very restless and get bored with monotony very easily, and sometimes, they might, hang out with maybe somebody for a little bit, and then, they might kind of dissipate into thin air for a little bit and go, hang out with somebody else, but before you know it, then they're back, they're back with you once again. If you can overlook, I guess we could say, the transgressions as far as, the flightiness sometimes with Gemini as a friend, they can make very, very good friendly people to be associated with. Next sign I'll go with is Cancer, and I think Cancer is very similar to Taurus, as far as the tenacity as a friend goes and, the staying power, and Cancers can, be very persistent and loyal friends. And a lot of times Cancers, being introverted and homebody, that they are, would maybe prefer to do things kind of like indoors and such as video games and going on, things on the internet, watching TV, things that are connected more, at home as opposed to the outdoors. Okay, well, the next, another thing I want to get with before I get to Leo with Cancer is that, we know that, Cancers can be very, emotional and sensitive. So with Cancer, sometimes it's important, to try to kind of hold back, especially if you're like an outspoken sign such as Aries or Sagittarius, because the bluntness, sometimes can hurt, Cancers, and they might kind of drift away for a while due to the fact that they, they feel they've been hurt. Anyway, next sign we'll talk about is Leo. And Leo, obviously, this is a sign that, it is nearly, very, like Taurus, steadfast. They're very, I guess we could say they're magnanimous as friends. They can, sometimes border on being extravagant as far as the giving, and a lot of times a Leo person might, friend might be the type that would be willing to give, a lot more than they're going to receive. The thing about Leo, though, is their pride, and a lot of times they feel that they're going to have to be right over the other person. So a lot of times that does factor in to their their friendships. But they are very loyal, and they are the type of person that somebody does something for them, a lot of times they'll be quicker to reciprocate than the average person will. They're obviously, can be headstrong, though. They feel, when they're right, that's basically it. And that's one thing to remember about, Leos, not just, their temperament and personality, but as friends. And next sign I'm going to get to is Virgo. Now, Virgos, are, when majority of Virgos I know, and Virgo Sun or Virgo Rising, very, good disposition. And they're generally tactful and diplomatic, and they're good friends in the way that they know how to talk to others, and they're good, have good people skills. The one thing I would say, the knock on Virgo, though, I would say, is that sometimes they can not always be very animated or exuberant. And the one thing when you're with a Virgo personality, a lot of times is that a lot of times they seem to have this they have this, I don't know if we want to say suppressed enthusiasm or something that's just not quite coming out of them in the animation department. And I think that's the one thing I've noticed about Virgos that I've acquainted myself with as far as Sun or or rising sign. But as far as them as personality, they're very decent, and they're very kind and friendly, and will try to help a friend out, especially if it's something like work related, because it is the sign associated with work, that they'll help you out as far as that element or aspect goes quicker than a lot of other signs may. Okay, next sign I'm going to get to is going to be Libra. And Libra, is a sign that's very, it's similar to Virgo, is diplomatic, and they like to have fairness. And if you have like a Libra as a friend, I think they want to have things done fairly with them, and they abhor injustice, and they want to, if they're in a group of people, they want to see that everybody's being treated the same way or having the same amount of enjoyment or whatever activity is they may be doing. So that's what I've noticed with Libras. And they generally will not like to take sides, but can be mediators if they see two mutual friends going at it. So next sign is Scorpio. Now Scorpio is it can be very devoted. They could also be very willful at the same time. And we know about the thing with Scorpio, sometimes can be vengeful. The thing with Scorpio is they're obviously, they could be the troubadour of friends, they're on your side, and you're, things are going well between you and them. But if you do, something obviously to them, I'm not saying they're going to necessarily go out and exact vengeance on someone, but they might, they might stay away for a long time, and they might take a while to forgive and forget, similar to Taurus. Next sign I want to get to is Sagittarius. Now Sagittarius is very expansive, optimistic, upbeat, and they could really get their friends in a more lively, animated state if they weren't to begin with, because they just have this natural enthusiasm that rubs off on on friends. So but like Gemini, they can be a little flighty. They can be, I think, can kind of come and go a little bit, wavering. So that's one thing to keep in mind. But when they're around, they're very good for morale boosters and good, motivators. And really, if there is a group that seems melancholy or in the doldrums, they can pick them right up very easily. Now, next sign I want to get to is Capricorn. And Capricorn is known, I don't know what word I'm looking for, if it's Stalinist, it's the, I don't know if that's it. They're just very stern and serious people, a lot of them. And, they a lot of times that could be a sign that can stick with somebody when a lot of other people have dissipated into thin air and gone on to other ventures or what have you. And you know, the temperament is such where it's, like I said, it's serious, and they're not always very animated, but they're the kind of people that are very, they could be punctual and loyal and dependable and can be there for you, and which is similar to Taurus, but they just not, really, always the most extroverted, people. So that's one thing, very conservative, and obviously, it could take a lot to get them to get kind of in a jocular, mode. So that's one thing, to remember with Capricorn. Now Aquarius, well, if anyone epitomizes friendship, it can be this, sign of Aquarius. And, Aquarians, are the kind of people that will be, can be beneficial to their friends in a multitude of ways. And people that are just, really know how, to be, good friends. They can be, obviously, they can, have their eccentricities or idiosyncrasies or whatever, and can be kind of like, the oddball friend, or the one that, does the, the oddest things, I think his name is Nick Walenda, the guy that walked across the Grand Canyon on the tightrope, is an Aquarius, and that's no shocker. Aquarius can do unpredictable things at the unpredictable times, so that's one thing to keep in mind with them. But they're the type that will really stick with their friends to the bitter end. And the next sign I want to get to is Pisces. Now Pisces, okay, this little, it's kind of it's going to be a little bit, a little, not to say complicated. It's a sign, as a friend, they can be, obviously, their sensitivity. They are friends, that know how to treat, other friends, because they understand about being sensitive. So they might be careful as far as the sensitivity of others may go. And Pisces, though, is a sign, which is generally fairly passive and non-confrontational, and, will be the type of person that may stick up for somebody in subtle ways, maybe make a reference to something they saw on TV, for example, when they're really talking about somebody, maybe somebody in the room or something. So, but, it's a sign that, similar to Cancer, has the sensitivity, so a lot of times it's important maybe to watch what you say, to these people, and they could be, sensitive to their surroundings. So, it's important to have, a good group of people around Pisces that, that understands their, I guess, their sensitive nature, and, because this is the kind of person, like I said, like with Cancer, that it's, sometimes you gotta maybe be careful like what might be said to them, because they can be, sensitive, regarding certain things, more so than the average sign. But it is a sign that, is usually pretty, peace-loving and passive, and can make, and, are good, could be good people to be around. But anyway, that's all I want to get with, and on the next YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be dissertating and talking about continuing my aspect segment, and segments, I should say. And until next time, people, stay well.